Alright, let's get real for a second. You ever notice how some people treat your time, your presence, your entire existence, like it's optional? They interrupt you mid-sentence, make those slick little passive-aggressive jokes, or dismiss your feelings like they don't matter. And what do we usually do? We smile, laugh it off, stay quiet, maybe even tell ourselves, it's not worth it, but deep down, it stings. And the truth? Every time you let it slide, you're silently teaching them it's okay to treat you that way. But not today. If you're tired of being disrespected, if you're done pretending it doesn't bother you just to keep the peace, this video is for you. Because today, I'm sharing 5 brutally honest, and yeah, maybe a little controversial, ways to handle people who don't respect you. But here's the twist. We're not going to lose our cool, we're not going to fight fire with fire, and we're definitely not lowering ourselves to their level. Instead, we're going to learn how to protect our peace without sacrificing our power. Think about this. What would your life feel like if you had the tools to shut down disrespect the moment it happens, without yelling, without drama, and without saying a single unnecessary word? Well, that's exactly what you're about to learn. These aren't just tips, they're mindset shifts, grounded in modern stoicism, real-life experience, and the kind of calm power that people can't ignore. And trust me, once you start using them, people will either start treating you with respect, or they'll distance themselves. Either way, you win. So if you're ready to draw the line, firmly, confidently, and with total self-respect, then stay with me. Let's dive in. Part 1. The silent stare. Let me ask you something. What do you do when someone crosses the line, talks over you, throws shade, makes you feel small in front of others? Most of us, we try to stay polite. We stumble through a response, or worse, we laugh it off like it didn't bother us. But here's a powerful tool most people overlook: the silent stare. I know, it sounds simple. Too simple, maybe, but don't underestimate it. Because when used with intention, silence combined with stillness becomes power. Here's how it works. The next time someone disrespects you, interrupts you in a meeting, makes a passive-aggressive remark, or talks down to you, don't argue. Don't explain, just stop and look at them. No words, no expression, no reaction, just eye contact, just presence. Why does this work? Because people who disrespect others are usually fishing for a reaction. They want to provoke you, make you feel small, or drag you into their emotional chaos. But when you respond with silence, calm, steady, unbothered, you flip the script. Suddenly, they become uncomfortable. They feel exposed. It's like holding up a mirror and saying, I see you. And I'm not playing this game. Let me give you a real example. I was once in a team meeting. One guy kept interrupting me, over and over again. Loud, arrogant, acting like the room was his stage. I tried being polite, tried to jump in, didn't work. So I leaned back, folded my arms, and just stared at him. 5 seconds, no blinking, no emotion, just presence. The tension in the room? You could cut it with a knife. People started looking at him instead of me. And suddenly, he stumbled, his voice cracked, his posture shifted, and from that moment on, he didn't interrupt again. Why? Because silence, when used with composure, is louder than shouting. It speaks volumes. And here's the deeper truth. You don't owe anyone an emotional reaction. You don't have to defend your worth, prove your value, or play the role they expect you to play. The silent stare is more than just a tactic, it's a declaration. I won't be moved. I won't be manipulated, and I sure as hell won't entertain your nonsense. It's about reclaiming your energy, centering yourself, and reminding both them, and you, that your peace is non-negotiable. And the beauty, the more you use it, the more you reinforce your self-worth. Because every time you hold that silence, you're telling yourself, I choose strength. I choose control. I choose me. So next time someone tries to push your buttons, challenge your boundaries, or pull you into their storm, don't explain, don't defend, don't shrink. Just stop and look. Let the silence speak for itself. You'll be amazed at how loud it becomes. Part 2. Silence is the answer. Here's a truth most people never realize. You don't have to respond to everything that disrespects you. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to defend your worth. You don't even need to explain. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Let that sink in. Because when someone throws a passive-aggressive jab your way, when they disguise disrespect as a joke or a just being honest comment, what they really want is your reaction. They want you to take the bait, to defend yourself, to feel rattled. But when you don't give it to them, when you just raise an eyebrow and let the silence hang in the air, that silence becomes louder than any comeback. It's like putting a mirror in front of their face, without a word, and that's uncomfortable for them. I'll tell you a quick story. There was a guy the first used to work with, always had something slick to say, lil digs about my work. Always under the guise of, just kidding. One day, he said something completely unnecessary, clearly fishing for a reaction. I looked at him, raised my eyebrow and said, nothing. I let it sit, let the silence stretch, let him feel it. And you know what? He stumbled, looked away, mumbled, and never tried it again. Because here's the thing. Disrespect feeds on attention and silence starves it. Now let me be clear. This isn't about being passive. This is a choice. A strategic, intentional response. It says, I see what you're doing. I just don't care enough to respond. And that message hits harder than anything you could say. It protects your energy. It puts you back in control, and it tells the other person, you don't get to shape my emotional state. That's not weakness, that's strength, that's discipline, that's maturity. You're not shrinking, you're rising. We live in a world where everyone's quick to respond, to react, to fight back, but silence? Silence is rare, it's sacred, and that's what makes it powerful. Think of silence as a boundary, a filter. It lets the noise pass through without ever touching your peace. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause, breathe, say nothing. Let them deal with the awkwardness, let them sit with their own behavior. Let your silence say, you're not worth my energy. And more importantly, let it remind you that your peace is not up for negotiation. You don't need to win every argument, you don't need to educate every jerk, you don't need to defend yourself to people who aren't interested in understanding you. You just need to stay grounded, stay calm, stay in your power. Because at the end of the day, the strongest voice in the room might be the one that chooses not to speak at all. Part 3. Stop explaining your choices. Let's talk about something that so many people struggle with, especially the kind-hearted. The overthinkers. The ones who've spent their whole lives trying to be understood. Here it is. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your life. Let me repeat that. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Not for the career you chose, not for the relationship you ended, not for the goals you're chasing, or the ones you've let go. And yet, how often do we feel pressured to explain ourselves? Why didn't you go to that event? Why'd you leave that stable job? Why don't you want kids? Why are you still single? Why are you doing that with your life? People throw these questions at us like they're entitled to a behind-the-scenes tour of our decisions. But here's the thing. Most of the time, they're not asking because they care, they're asking because your choice makes them uncomfortable. See, when you choose a path that's different, more risky, more honest, more you, it can shake something in people. It forces them to reflect on their own lives, and that reflection? It's not always pretty. So instead of sitting with their own discomfort, they project it onto you. They question you, challenge you, try to poke holes, not because they want to understand, but because they want you to shrink back into something more familiar, more manageable for them. But guess what? That's not your job. I'll give you a quick story. A few years ago, I left a stable corporate job to pursue something I actually cared about, something that lit me up. The moment people found out, it was like I'd committed social heresy. Wait, why would you leave that job? How are you going to survive? Do you even know what you're doing? At first, I tried to explain, tried to walk them through the logic, tried to convince them it made sense. But no matter how much I explained, it never felt like enough. Until one day, someone asked me again, why would you leave a safe job like that? And I just smiled and said, because I wanted to. And that was it. Silence. They didn't know what to say next, because I didn't leave room for doubt. I didn't ask for permission. I just owned it. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. When you stop explaining yourself, you start trusting yourself. You stop living your life on trial. You stop handing out backstage passes to people who've never stepped on your stage. It's like this. Your life is not a courtroom. You don't need to present evidence for every choice you make. Because every time you do, You give away a little piece of your power. You hand people the pen and ask them to co-author your story. But here's the truth. You are the author, you are the editor, you are the audience that matters most. When you own your choices, without over-explaining, without apologizing, you create space to actually live those choices. You stop wasting energy trying to earn approval and start using it to build a life that feels like yours. So next time someone questions you, try this. Why do you do that? Right pointing arrow, because it felt right to me. Why didn't you go? Right pointing arrow, because I didn't want to. Say it and then let the silence do the rest. Because your choices are valid simply because you made them. Not everyone will get it, not everyone needs to. The only person who has to understand your path is the one walking it. Part 4. Keep your distance. Let's get real about something that most people avoid admitting out loud. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Seriously, just because someone's known you for years, just because they're family, or a lifelong friend, doesn't mean they get unlimited access to your energy. Here's the truth no one tells you. Sometimes, the best way to deal with people who don't respect you is to keep your distance. And no, it's not mean, it's not cold, it's not cutting people off. It's called self-respect. Think of your life like a private concert. There are VIP seats, general admission, and seats all the way in the back, or outside the venue entirely. So why are you giving front row tickets to people who constantly criticize you, drain you, or make you feel small? It's time to move them to the cheap seats, or out of the building altogether. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a friend I had for years, smart, funny, always quick with a joke, but over time, I noticed something. Every conversation somehow turned into a subtle dig. My career, my relationships, even the music I liked at first. I brushed it off. That's just how they are, I told myself, but it started to wear on me. I'd leave our hangouts feeling tense, questioning myself, dreading the next round of judgment disguised as just being honest. So one day, I didn't confront them. I didn't start a fight. I just stopped showing up so often. I went from weekly hangouts to once a month and then once every few months. And you know what? I felt lighter, calmer, clearer. That space gave me the clarity to see what I'd been tolerating all along. Sometimes, we keep people close out of habit, not because they truly belong there. But here's what I want you to hear loud and clear. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's necessary. Distance isn't punishment, it's protection. It's giving yourself room to breathe, to grow, to surround yourself with people who actually pour into you. People might say, but isn't that harsh? No, what's harsh is keeping yourself in emotional environments that slowly erode your self-worth. What's harsh is pretending it doesn't bother you, while your spirit quietly breaks down inside. So ask yourself, who in your life consistently disrespects your time, your boundaries, your energy? And then ask the harder question, why are you still giving them access? Look, this isn't about bitterness, this is about boundaries, healthy, clear, necessary boundaries. When you create space from people who don't respect you, you're sending a message. I matter, my peace matters, and I don't need permission to protect either. It also creates room for better people, better energy, better relationships to enter your life. Because let's be honest, when you're surrounded by constant negativity, there's no space left for growth. But the moment you step back, you gain clarity, you regain control, and you reclaim your time and emotional freedom. So if you've been feeling drained, disrespected, or devalued by someone in your life, here's your sign. You don't have to explain, you don't have to make it dramatic, just take a step back. Honor yourself enough to walk away quietly from what no longer aligns with the life you're building. Part 5. Hold your head high. Let me share something simple, but powerful. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do in the face of disrespect is just to hold your head high. I know, it sounds cliché. You've probably heard it 100 times. But when someone tries to belittle you, insult you, or chip away at your confidence, and you refuse to shrink, you refuse to flinch? That's not just posture, that's power. Because here's what people who disrespect you often count on. They expect you to look down, to second guess, to question your worth. They want their words to land and leave a bruise. But when you stand tall, shoulders back, eyes steady, you send a message they can't ignore. I know exactly who I am, and nothing you say will shake that. Confidence is confusing to people who thrive on control. It rattles those who feed off your insecurity. Why? Because when you don't respond the way they expect, you take away their power. Let me give you a real-life example. There was someone I used to run into at social events, one of those people who always had a snarky comment. Always wrapped in a smile. They'd say things like, "Oh, you're still doing that little project of yours?" Or, "You're brave for trying that. Most people wouldn't risk it." You know the type. Polished on the outside, poisonous underneath. At first, I'd laugh it off, try to justify myself, maybe even feel a little self-doubt. But one day, I stopped. The next time they tried their usual, harmless, jab, I smiled, stood tall, looked them right in the eye, and said absolutely nothing. I didn't flinch. I didn't shrink. I just stood in who I was, unbothered. And you know what? They backed off because confidence like that is unsettling to the people who want you to feel small. Holding your head high is not about arrogance, it's about self-respect. It's about declaring, without a single word, that you will not be reduced to someone else's limited view of you. And the beautiful part? You don't need anyone's approval to do it. Because here's the truth. Your self-worth isn't something other people give you, it's something you decide every single day to stand in. The way you carry yourself is a reflection of the way you see yourself, and when you walk into a room like you belong there, people feel it. More importantly, you feel it. Now, look, this didn't come naturally to me. I used to slouch, avoid eye contact. I thought staying quiet or humble meant staying small, but I've learned that true humility isn't about minimizing yourself. It's about standing tall without needing to prove anything. And once I made that shift, everything changed. My energy changed, the way people treated me changed, because when you start seeing yourself differently, the world responds in kind. So here's your reminder. The next time someone disrespects you, subtly or openly, don't explain, don't attack, don't collapse. Just breathe, stand tall, and hold your head high. Because that silent stance, it says everything you need to say. I respect myself and your opinion has no power here. Conclusion. Self-respect is the root. So here's the truth we all need to come back to. Life is too short to keep trying to please people who don't even respect you. Too short to keep explaining yourself, too short to tolerate passive-aggressive digs, silent treatments, subtle shade, too short to give your time, energy, and heart to people who don't value them. You are allowed, fully allowed, to decide who gets access to you. Not everyone should have a seat at your table, and just because someone wants your attention doesn't mean they're entitled to it. See, one of the most radical, life-changing things you can do is this. Decide that your self-respect comes first. Because here's the beautiful thing. The more you respect yourself, the more you naturally start attracting people who reflect that back, people who value your boundaries, people who speak to you with care, people who lift you up, not weigh you down. And the ones who don't, they'll either shift or drift, and either outcome is a win. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't always easy. Setting boundaries, choosing silence, walking away, holding your head high. It takes courage, especially if you've spent years being the one who kept the peace, who avoided conflict, who gave people chance after chance. But let me say this as clearly as I can. You don't need permission to live a life that honors who you are. You don't need validation to stand in your truth. You don't need anyone's approval to protect your peace. Because the moment you start owning your energy, truly owning it, something shifts. You stop explaining, you stop chasing, you stop shrinking. And you start living, fully, freely, on your own terms. So if you take anything away from this video, let it be this. You are the gatekeeper of your own life. You decide what energy comes in. You set the tone for how you're treated, by how you treat yourself. It all begins with you. So stand tall, walk with clarity, speak with intention, and never apologize for protecting your peace. Because when you choose self-respect, you're not just changing how others treat you, you're changing the way you show up in the world. And that changes everything. Folded hands, thanks for being here. If this message hit home, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs the reminder. And let me know in the comments, what's one boundary you're ready to hold? Starting today? Bell, and don't forget to subscribe for more real talk on how to live with clarity, calm, and confidence. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and remember, it all starts with you.